Hey, you guys, it is Stove here. Yeah, maybe a little bit late on the college football review, but yeah, got myself a haircut, look brand fresh and new, and yeah, let's get into this review of college, not college, NFL football. So, yeah, Broncos and Raiders had, in my opinion, a very good defensive matchup. Uh, Honestly, I wish Broncos would have set up themselves a little bit better. Bo Nix tried to play a little bit more conservative whenever he was throwing, and pretty much Geno Smith didn't really do anything else either. I mean, shoot, whenever your leading receiver is like a 33 or 34-year-old Tyler Lockett, then you know that you're not really doing any of your other wide receivers any favors between the Raiders and the Broncos. So, yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, for a lot of the average people, and maybe even a lot of people that have watched football for years and really mostly like the offensive side, they probably thought that this game sucked. It kind of did, for sure. Bo Nix is still doing Bo Nix things. He's trying to improve. You can see it. But with the system that they have, they're just hoping that the defense pretty much keeps the Raiders from scoring at all. And yeah, Broncos are the worst team whenever it comes to offense. I think they have a arguable top five, like top six, top five team whenever it comes to defense. But in my opinion, they're undefeated at home, which shows a lot because they're, I think, one of the only teams to be undefeated at home, or the only team to be undefeated at home. But in my opinion, until they actually face very good teams, which they've really only faced maybe like two or three, and those two or three teams, they've either lost to them or they had a very close win against them. Which the only two teams that they got beat by were two teams that were actually good. So, again, I would have to say they are the worst and best team right now. Record-wise, they're one of, if not the best. I think the Colts against the Broncos, even though a defense like the Falcons did what they did against the Colts, it was very impressive. And obviously, I think the Broncos could pretty much do the same thing, if not just a tad bit better. However, I do think the Colts are just a better offensive team, and they are a better defensive team right now, especially with the inclusion of Sauce Gardner, especially with the like their rushing game and their passing game in general. Daniel Jones is having a better time throwing the ball right now than Bo Nix is. I don't know if it's just because of the offensive line, because I feel like Colts also just have a better overall offensive line. That's almost pretty much fact there. When you look at it through... Now, granted, I'm not trying to diminish the fact that the Broncos do still have... they still have a solid offensive line. If they didn't have a solid offensive line, they wouldn't be 8-2. But still, it was kind of a lackluster game, which a lot of people probably turned off after the third quarter, to be honest, unless something amazing happened. The only people that didn't turn it off were Broncos fans and maybe a couple of diehard Raiders fans that still live in Las Vegas or Oakland. So yeah, that one didn't exactly go as what I thought, but I mean, hey, it's a divisional matchup, so it's very close whenever it came to defensively, though. And going back to the Colts game, realistically, Colts were beating themselves in that second and third quarter. Daniel Jones, I still think, played well, but once they were able to get Jonathan Taylor back into what they needed to, because they couldn't. For the second and third quarter, they absolutely couldn't, but they were able to. I don't know why they kept on going for 2 points. They weren't making it. They weren't making themselves look any better. Well, they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot just a tad bit, but with them going into overtime, they really didn't need to worry about it too much, and the fact that they handled business and they had Jonathan Taylor run in for his third consecutive rushing touchdown of the day with 244 rushing yards. This guy is the team's MVP. This guy is the conference MVP. This guy is arguably, and probably not even really arguably, but this guy is the MVP of the NFL league. Whenever you have a running back running between 25, on average, 25 to almost 30 plus rushing carries, and also averaging between 150 to 220 rushing yards, and almost averaging a touchdown and a half to almost 2 touchdowns every single game, then you're pretty much that offensive line rushing wise is fantastic. Passing wise is still a little bit, because Daniel Jones was getting hit. You could see it. He had blood in his mouth a little bit. He was getting hit for sure. So the passing game wasn't exactly there, but Daniel Jones was still able to get 255 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. It was very good to see something like that. Adversity that we would see the Colts just try their damnedest against a Falcons team that could have and probably even should have won that game. But with the Falcons, they also are very inconsistent. They want to win, but at the same time, they're like, no, we're not going to. We'll increase some of these players' fantasy points, and then we'll lose. It literally, that's just how it feels. Drake London, he didn't exactly have a good start this year, but once he started rolling, he was able to stay in there as a very good contender for any fantasy team. Any fantasy player would pick him up in a heartbeat, just because he's the Falcons' number 1 receiver. There's no one else like him. Same with Bijan Robinson. Butchering that name, though. But same thing with him. But nothing is compared right now to Jonathan Taylor. No running backs are having the same impact as Jonathan Taylor, besides a very close second this year, which I think is Devon Achane, who's also had very good rushing game, but he's also been having very good receiving game too. If it wasn't for Jaden Waddle, Devon Achane would basically be the Christian McCaffrey of the what McCaffrey is to the 49ers is what Devon Achane is to the Dolphins, pretty much. So, with that being said, Colts, I really liked that comeback, and it was a very exciting game. Bears and Giants, it was an exciting game until Jackson Dart got basically put out of the fourth quarter, I believe, with an injury. And since the Giants are now 2-8, and unless they win 7 straight games to possibly even come close to making the playoffs, it is very slim possibility, but it's still a possibility. But the way the Giants are playing, though, you're not going to really see anything good coming out of them, especially with Jackson Dart now hurt. Maybe he did come back. I don't think he really did. And then you also have Brian Daboll, or whatever his name is. He got fired as the head coach. So now you're looking at either the offensive coordinator as the interim head coach. You're maybe looking at one of the coaches that has had more of an eye on head coaching a bit more. Just somebody that you're going to be able to trust a little bit more. And, I mean, just the decisions that Brian had to do, I mean, I'd definitely fire him too. But Bears are now 6-3. And obviously this is where I start to lose my mind a little bit, because we're going to start talking about the games that I poorly predicted, apparently. Even though Josh Allen, he didn't exactly have a good day besides that fourth quarter. He had 2 touchdowns, 306 passing yards. The Bills couldn't get anything going. Running, they got a little bit here and there throughout the 4 quarters, but it was nothing like I expected. The Dolphins, hey, I should have thought about the whole thing with the Dolphins being at home, Bills beating them. It was still, I think, a close game the first time they faced each other, and then the Bills kind of just took it away. But the Dolphins beating the Bills and then celebrating the way that they did, I think is a little overkill. But, when's the next time you're probably going to be able to beat your divisional rivals like that? But the Bills have also had so much struggles with rushing, with a very good rusher. In Devon Achane is exactly what that is. And obviously, whenever that same running back, that same rusher, is also being put out there as a receiver sometimes as well, then it's going to end up looking even worse for the Bills, because they can't defend them even on that. So, realistically though, Dolphins played a hell of a game. They even played hella good defense against Josh Allen. And that's exactly what they need to do to get a spark going. Even if they don't make playoffs this year, if they just win 3 to 4 more games, I think it does take a lot of the hatred for Mike McDaniel out of some people's minds, and even the Dolphins owner and GM. It's not like they hated him, they just really hated the performance of how the Dolphins were doing, and they expected more. Now, granted, obviously Tyreek Hill injured for the rest of the season, but you expect more from a young Dolphins team still. Regardless of what Tua's been dealing with, I'm sure he's still technically concussed from last year. But still, Tua played a very good game. Surprisingly, not as good as Josh Allen, but it was more just the running game for the Dolphins. And I really think the Dolphins has had this run game. They've always had a good run game when they needed it. It's not like they've never had a run game and this is just popping off for them. This is a very good thing for the Dolphins. They should improve upon, and this is another reason why they were able to get the other 2 wins, was because of their rushing. And even whenever they lose, they still pretty much give it to Achane. They pass it to Achane, toss it to Achane, give it to Achane. Achane's having a freak party, and he's getting a lot of incentive out of it, pretty much. And that's just facts. I mean, the amount of stuff, granted, he only got 22 carries, but look at all 10 games and tell me where Devon Achane has technically a bad game. You're not really going to see it. Even when he does have a bad game rushing, he still has a few catches here and there, a few solid yards after catch, and then proceeds to get still like 10 or 12 fantasy points, which not everyone's looking at fantasy points, but if you're a fantasy guy, that's what you're always going to look at, is hoping to see that you're going to get a running back like Jonathan Taylor. You're going to get a running back like Josh Jacobs. You're going to get a running back like Devon Achane, which unfortunately I don't have him on my fantasy, but at the same time, still very, very good game by the Dolphins, and I expected more out of the Bills, but with the consistency of losing games or having bad defensive games against very good or even great running backs of this year, of this season, then it's going to kind of be like second nature whenever they get into the playoffs. They just have to defend that well, because they're already defending passes well. They just need to do better with their rush defense. Baltimore figured they were going to win against the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy having an up and down season, 20-42 whenever it comes to completions, 248 passing yards, and a passing touchdown. Those stats are not bad. The stats of the incompletions, you had 22 incompletions. So realistically, you had under 50% of your targets were incomplete. Now, granted, Naylor came out and he played. That was pretty good for him. 5 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Still tried to make it a close game, even with the field goals and stuff like that, but the Ravens pretty much was just trying to, they got it going. They were able to get it going in that second half a little bit more than the Vikings, but still, you could still see that the Ravens were struggling against a defense like the Vikings. I feel like there's still a little bit of hesitation from Lamar Jackson, just a tad bit. And by hesitation, I'm not saying, well, he's not like overthinking, should I run or should I pass? I think he is like trying to be his normal self. It's just in his mind, there's always going to be something, especially since getting off of injury. There's always going to be some in a quarterback's mind, in a player's mind, that he's going to get back to his normal self. I'm sure you're going to see him rush all over the damn place next week or the week after, but it definitely just feels like he's still not there in his grasp yet. If he was, then I'm sure the Ravens would have had 30-plus points, maybe another touchdown, and it would have been Lamar Jackson being the one getting the rushing yard. But, rushing touchdown, I mean. I just feel like the Ravens are still not there yet. They're 4-5. They're climbing up in the AFC North Division, which it sucks to literally see the Ravens go all the way down with 1 win and 5 losses to now being number 2 in the AFC division, having 4-5. And if they improve and they get back these players that they're supposed to get back later in the season, defensively anyway, then it's going to be even more terrible for their opponents. So, but we will see. Figured that they were going to win. Browns and Jets were back and forth in that first half and even that third quarter. However, Browns did what the Browns do, and the Jets ended up being the one with the first win at home instead of the Browns winning their first away game. So it was actually pretty close, really. Pretty close the entire game. But the Jets were able to get that fire in that fourth quarter, held the Browns to just 3 points, and the Jets were able to get that final touchdown. And it's pretty good. Now, granted, do I think that both the Jets and the Browns may want to still think about rebuilding that team or firing some people after this season? Yeah, more than likely. It really just depends on how they finish this season, or like maybe a couple of weeks before they even finish the season, they'll probably end up firing people on both the Jets and the Browns. So felt like that was pretty much the end result. Honestly, I should have done a 50-50 on the Browns, because at first I said the Jets, and I was like, I don't know. I think with this, being the way it is, if it's the rushing game and stuff like that, I'll probably put it towards the Browns. And I was also thinking, since the Jets have lost 2 of their greatest defensive players, they're not going to be able to hold a candle to the rushing game of the Browns. And I was dead freaking wrong. So, that being said, I was wrong about that. Jets win by 7. Patriots, I did think this was actually a 50-50 game, the Patriots and Buccaneers game. Baker Mayfield played good. He had 3 passing touchdowns, 273 passing yards. But the run game of that Patriots team, Henderson, the rookie, really came out with only 14 carries, still was able to get 147 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Egbuka was still able to get 6 catches, 115 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So he had still a solid game. Drake May was even able to get some solid passing yards, pretty much around the same completion, probably a little bit more completions than Baker Mayfield, a little bit. But, I mean, Patriots were able to score a touchdown every single game, with also making the extra point every single time. Patriots were able, their defense was able to shut down what they needed to shut down, and that was Baker Mayfield. Because Baker Mayfield not exactly can be inconsistent, but he can definitely, even though he's still, stats-wise, he's having a good game, he can still have his incompletions, which as long as you make those incompletions consistent, then you can win against Baker Mayfield. Even though it's still going to be a close game, it's still going to have to be that way, where you make those incompletions the consistent. And if you make that the consistent, then you can make other things consistent. So with that being said, I thought the Buccaneers were going to end up doing it. To me, it made a little bit more sense, but with the NFL now, what makes true sense anymore? Patriots 8-2, and one of the very few teams, probably the only team, to be 5-0 as the away team. I was also wrong about the Panthers. I thought the Panthers, granted, they're still 500. They got 5 wins. Now they have 5 losses. What was it? Schaff or Koff? However you say that Saints quarterback's name, he's been playing good. I think he played a pretty damn good game. And that was one of the big reasons why they were able to win. Not only that, but their defense showed a lot of heart and was able to keep that Bryce Young-led offense to only 1 touchdown throughout all 4 quarters. And Chris Olave even had a pretty good game, so it was pretty solid for the Saints. And then I also got the Jaguars wrong, even though Jaguars were playing good 3 straight quarters. They are one of a dozen teams or a handful of teams at this point, probably not a dozen. So yeah, a handful of teams that have already done this, and that is build up a solid lead. They were 19 points ahead, and then they lose it. They still technically lose it while allowing 26 points. That is more points in franchise history for Houston to score in one quarter in years, and that is probably also the most or second most in years in one quarter. That 26 points in one quarter and the Jaguars scoring 0. So I'm pretty sure that's the most, or at least second most, points scored by a team that the other team didn't score any. I'm pretty sure. I might be just pulling that out of my butt, but still. Very good game by Houston in that fourth quarter. Granted, they should have lost. But, you know, sports books gotta win some money, I guess. Seahawks pretty much did exactly what I thought that they were gonna do. What I'm actually kind of starting to look at, Rams did a very good job. Lions started to do a very good job. Lions, even though they had less and less points throughout the quarters, it's still phenomenal game. They had at least a touchdown or more throughout every single quarter. But the way the Seahawks have been pretty much playing, if they could score all their points in the first half and then pretty much let their defense do their thing and even maybe score a little bit in that third or fourth quarter, they really don't need to do anything else. And I gotta hand it to the Seahawks. They've been a pretty dominant team, for what you would call dominant anyway. Same thing with the Rams, the Lions, Buccaneers have even done that a few times where they score most of their points in the first half and then just kind of leave the second half alone. It pretty much happened very, very conveniently. Both the Seahawks and Lions won pretty much the same way, by like 44-22. Rams 42-26 against the 49ers. A lot of very good things. And honestly, surprisingly enough, Christian McCaffrey wasn't really a part of this too much, the 49ers and Rams game. Mac Jones, you look at that stat alone, you would think that they'd win, but no, they didn't. Williams was able to get 14 carries, 73 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Mac Jones only having 6 incompletions out of 39. 33 and 39 out of 39 completions. So 319 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. Beautiful game for Mac Jones, just unfortunately was not enough. Especially since the defense was allowing so much stuff to happen. Mac Jones played his heart out, but still couldn't get it done for that team. The Lions absolutely destroyed the Commanders, and the Commanders pretty much only did what they could, and that's score a little here, score a little there, and just take the loss and be a 3-7 team. Chargers was absolutely wrong about the Steelers. Apparently, they do not do well in away games. At least, they're very inconsistent between their home games and their away games. Chargers pretty much made me put my foot in my mouth, pretty much. And now they're a 7-3 team, and they're 4-2 at home. So realistically, I also thought this was going to be a 50-50. I thought it was going to be a lot closer, but I still thought it was going to be 50-50, whether it be the Chargers winning or the Steelers winning. And I just chose the Steelers just because coming off of a loss, they almost need this win to still be 2 games in front of the Ravens, and now they're just a game in front of the Ravens, and all the Ravens have to do is just hope that they beat the Steelers once. I don't know if they've even faced each other. Maybe I'm clueless, but I almost for certain they probably haven't even faced each other yet. So you get the Ravens and the Steelers facing each other once, maybe twice, and then bam, Ravens are now in the top of the AFC North, and now they get in wherever they're seated by the end of the year. But hopefully that doesn't happen. We'll see. But Chargers are looking good, and now the Chargers are a game behind the Broncos, which that wasn't something I thought I would have to say, especially with the predicament both Chargers and the Broncos are at, with Broncos being number 1, Chargers being number 2, Chiefs being number 3, and Raiders being all the way down at the 4, at least in that division. And it's almost like if you end a game in a very lackluster offensive way, you get, if you begin it with a lackluster offensive game, then you got to end it with a very lackluster type of way, which granted it wasn't too lackluster. The fourth quarter was the most exciting part of the game, and props to Green Bay's fans and some Philly fans that were also there to watch that entire game in its entirety, because it took until the fourth quarter to really look at something that was worth watching offensively. But defensively, first half looked incredible. There was a lot of highlights on defense. Same thing with the third quarter, and same thing with the fourth. Very consistent defense from both sides. The only thing is the Eagles were the ones to get the field goal in the third quarter, and they were able to get that touchdown in reply to the Packers touchdown. So realistically, props to both those two teams. We may or may not see those two same teams in the playoffs, whether they're against each other or they're against somebody else. By the time they get there, who knows what may happen. It's still got 7 games left in the regular season for most of these teams here. So with that being said, that is pretty much it for my review of all the games there. I hope you guys have a good game. Please like, please subscribe. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, let me know if you think I'm forgetting anything, or if you thought that, maybe I could have said this a little bit better, or I could have said a little bit less detail about certain things. Kind of scrolled past some of the games, and I could have ended up making it like a 40-minute video, but I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me rambling on about every single little game, because we know what happened. Some of us know what happened with these games, and there's really not much to talk about besides listing all the stats that the winners had. But anyway, you guys, like I said, y'all have a good day. Like, subscribe, comment if you haven't already, and as always, you guys have a good day. Peace.